a warrior, a survivor, and it's all because of God. She's a teacher and a healer, and it's all because of God. She's sassy, full of fire, with a heart that's made of gold. She will help you build your body, and it's so good for your soul.
Hey everybody, welcome to Life Unleashed with TLC, your host Traci Lynn Cowan. It is going to be a fun one today. We're already having laughs behind the scene. And I have with me someone very special and a NLP master trainer. And I like to think of her as a coach and a teacher, an instructor, and a friend. So I'd like to welcome Stacey O'Byrne to the show.
Thank you, Traci. Thanks for having me, and I'm excited for today.
Yeah, me too. It's a different element today, so
it is.
I've been learning a lot from Stacey, and it's been an interesting road so far.
It has been, and you know, the beautiful thing about this relationship is I get to learn from you too.
Oh, thank you. Well, I hope it's some good stuff too. I hope it's not all like, oh, wow, she's a train wreck.
No.
I'm kidding. So as you can see, there's a good dynamic here. I've been taking an NLP course, neuro-linguistic programming, and I've wanted to take it for years and years. I took some courses back in Canada many years ago, and so I kind of didn't even really tell you that because I kind of feel like I didn't really take anything, because now the teachings and the learnings that I'm learning from you is an element, I mean, 1,000 times. So this has been really interesting to me. And I wanted to share with everybody because I'm so fanatic about it now. Mm-hmm. People are like, what is NLP? Are you like doing some weird stuff again? And I'm like, no, this is really great. So I wanted to have you on the show so you could explain, first of all, what NLP is and what you do as a master trainer.
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you. So NLP is Neurolinguistics Programming, which is the science and study of human excellence and human behavior. And in a deeper dissection, Neurolinguistics Programming really helps study our neurology, the way we speak with ourselves and with others, and then our programming, our map of reality, the imprinting that happened between the ages of 0 to 7, which dictates and determines our relationship with every aspect of life: money, relationships, communication, business, ethics, morality, you name it. And we really get to step in and become the best version of ourselves, that person that we've always dreamed of, desired, and know we deserve, instead of just leaving it as a dream, a desire.
Yeah, I love it. And it's so beautiful. When I stepped into the doors to take NLP, which I was extremely nervous, I was having a lot of anxiety around, I didn't know that I was there for me. So I'm sure you might hear that a lot.
Yep.
Okay, so I thought I was going in so I'd learn how to be a better coach and be a better friend, I guess, and better mother. And I knew I was learning and adapting new principles into my life, but I had no idea what we were really doing. So it was, I guess, a surprise to me, because I thought, okay, well, now, I mean, it's all about playing full out. And when I stepped into those doors, I was ready to play full out. I didn't know what to expect. And it was a really tough process, because you're just peeling back, I mean, the layers and layers and layers and layers. How is it as a master NLP trainer to watch people go through these processes?
It's a privilege. It's a blessing. It's a gift, right? And I'd like to invite you to really step back and really look at the description of it being tough. I mean, we had a sidebar conversation about choose your heart, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. See, there's my verbiage again. So, see, I've been away from her for a week and I'm already falling apart.
You're not falling apart.
I'm kidding. See, I'm very visual. So
yeah, so am I.
I learned that. And then, yeah, there's so many things. Okay, so let me reframe those and let me go back and change those 2 words.
Yeah.
It was extremely transformative.
Yeah, that's fair.
Okay.
That's fair.
And not falling apart, I'm falling together in a new me.
You know, I mean, when we go to the gym, right, and we work on muscles, you feel it. It pushes you.
Yeah.
It there's resistance there, and that resistance is supposed to be there because we're chiseling away at what avoids serving our best physique and chiseling at what does serve our best physique. Internal work, transformation, the journey into excellence and success is the same as the journey in the gym.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. And it's really practicing discipline too, because again, as I've been, I feel like I was going to say on my own, because I feel like a part of me left when I was leaving the course, because I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm really dissecting everything. And you know what the fun part has been, and I'm really loving this, is watching everybody's eyes.
Yeah.
So people are like, don't look at me. Why are you staring at me like that? Because I'm watching the eye patterns and I'm learning so much about people.
Yeah.
I have removed... Let's go. So I'm going up there to look. I've removed about 5 people from my life in the last week alone.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And are those relationships that avoid serving your greatest good?
Absolutely, 100%.
Good.
I feel really good about it.
Good.
And before, when I wasn't able to make those decisions because I felt like I was stuck, now I'm able to go through the process and go, how is this bettering my life? And what added value can I add to them? And what are they adding to other people's lives? Because I'm watching, because I want to be surrounded, and I will be, and I am surrounded by people that are helping other people and loving other people, not bringing them down. And so that was a big thing for me. And I've been talking about this for so long, wrote down a checklist of everything that I wanted in a relationship and in a man. I wrote that down. And I was like, wow, I want a lot. I do have high expectations. My mother was right. However, I also know that I get to choose the perfect partner for me because I deserve it.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And you do deserve it. And it's about time that you realize it and honor it. You know, my favorite quote that's relative to the journey of NLP is, this is not the end, nor is this the beginning of the end. This is the end of the beginning. And I look at every day like that.
Yeah, I love that. How do you know where someone needs to start in their journey of clearing out and reforming new thoughts and new vibrations? Because, I mean, you have a lot of different personalities in that training. And so someone like me, how do you know where to start with someone like me when I'm coming in with trauma from domestic violence or something like that?
The beautiful thing about NLP is it's not a do-to. So I'm not starting anywhere with anybody.
Oh, okay.
Their unconscious mind knows exactly what it's ready to do, and it presents upon the person what it knows it needs to deal with and wants to deal with and is ready to deal with. And I'm at that point, I'm just a facilitator in the process, and we do it together.
Yeah, we do. And I love it. It's been just, today was the first time that I did meditation. So I did a Dr. Joe Dispenza, which I really love. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to do a guided meditation. I've been a little bit, I just have a lot on my mind and I'm making a lot of decisions. So I said, I'm going to watch Dr. Joe Dispenza. And I finally got into that space where he goes, get out of your body and get into space and time. So I felt like I was floating in the universe for the first time.
Yep.
And I've never felt that. I don't know what happened or how I kind of got into that space, but I feel like I realized that my body is my body. And I listened to an audio the other day saying that your heart, it was talking about heart math and things like that. And you talked about that in training, that your heart actually is measured outside of your body, like 4 feet or something.
13, I believe.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
That's incredible. How did you get into NLP?
Whoa. I tripped into it by accident. When I exited the military, I exited with 2 forms of post-traumatic stress disorder. And through that, I will lovingly, respectfully say that the VA is great. And in the past, its approach to trauma and PTSD was very archaic. And one soldier commits suicide every 22 minutes for a reason. And the VA's approach to PTSD was exposure therapy. And the problem with exposure therapy is there comes a point to where the person doesn't know if they're safe or not. They don't know if they're immersed in the trauma or not. And the brain's incapable of identifying the difference between truth and fantasy. So when you relive something over and over and over and over again, the brain starts to believe it's experiencing it again and it's real. I became very heightened. My PTSD was very high. I had a chip on my shoulder. I just hated people, wanted to kill the world, including myself. And I was in a sales training. The trainer spoke to the unconscious mind. I had a nuclear meltdown. He approached me and just looked at me and said, you have PTSD, don't you? And I had a few explicitives that I shared with him. Told him exactly what I thought of him and how it was none of his business. And he gave me a number to call. I called that number, and it was the founders of neurolinguistics programming. I went back. It was a 3-week course at that point. It was a 21-day course. I immersed myself in it, and I started feeling better. And through the course of feeling better, I went back to my job. I was in sales. My sales started doubling, tripling, quadrupling, and corporate America's head spun. And they're like, what the hell's going on? And I just started wanting to live and really wanted to thrive. And I immersed myself into it. And my sales continued to grow. My business continued to grow. And then corporate America just kept promoting me. And fast forward to 2009, Pivot Point incepted, and I started sharing with people, you got to do the inner work for the outer to ever work.
I love that. So Stacey has a company, organization called Pivot Point Advantage, and does teachings and instructing all over. And you have some courses coming up as well, too.
Yeah, my passion is success. My passion, I love working with business owners, entrepreneurs, and independent sales professionals to help them truly have the life that they've always dreamed of, desired, and deserved. And, so part of that is I work on their programming.
Yes.
People call it mindset. My true forte is business and success strategy. I love diving in and helping people build a business that they're not a slave to. Right? I mean, a lot of business owners and entrepreneurs do a really good job at building a really good job.
Yeah, exactly. A job just over broke, right?
Yeah. Jump out of bed, right?
Exactly. That's not fun. So, are there any kind of like something that you could share with us? So I come to you and you're my coach and I'm your coaching client, and I'm looking how to get off stuck, and I've got this block that I'm not making money in my business. Is there an approach that we would take just to get them through that?
Yeah, I don't believe in cookie cutter coaching, because I believe the cookie cutters belong in kitchens, not in coaching. Every person is different. It's no different than a car. When you take a car to a mechanic, they have to pop the hood to look in.
Yeah.
I kind of have to pop the hood to look in.
Right.
If somebody is struggling with success, if somebody is struggling with money, if they're struggling with their business, the very first thing we do is we look in the past.
Okay.
Because behavior repeats itself. How we do some things is how we do everything. How we do the little things is how we do the big things. So we look at the reoccurring patterns to find the source. And when we find the source, we shift the perspective of the source, which then shifts the programming, and then the behavior shows up different.
Yeah, it's interesting. You remember we were talking in class, and now I'm like, I sound like Stacey because I've been saying, change your thinking, change your life, like change your vibration. I was saying all these things, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't sound like my mother anymore. I sound like Stacey.
Don't call me mom.
Yeah, I won't call Pete dad. I won't call you mom. Okay, we've already clarified that.
That works.
I got that. You know what I thought was actually a really beautiful thing that you shared with the class too was in respect to Kiana, your daughter, and raising her. And would you like to share with everybody, the viewers and audience, because I loved how you brought her to work with you and you embedded her into that, because I know so many people out there struggle as parents trying to put them into daycare and things like that. And I love the story that you shared with us. It really just stuck with me. And I wish I had known that when I had my son many years ago.
Yeah, having a child unconventionally through artificial insemination was an emotional, physical, and financial investment. Mm-hmm. And I didn't have a kid to not have a kid. Yeah. Right. I didn't have a kid for someone else to raise them, so to speak. Mm-hmm. And please, I put her into preschool. Mm-hmm. I wanted to give her a jump start on immersion of school and socialization and everything like that. Mm-hmm. And I also wanted to be there for her. Right. So I would send her to preschool between set hours. We'll just call it 8 to 3, mm-hmm. right? And then I would pick her up, and her and I would sit at the table and do homework. She mm-hmm. would do her homework and I would do my work. And, right. Then we'd make dinner together, and then we would do homework again. Then we would do bath time. Then I'd read her. Her favorite book for me to read was Who Moved My Cheese? Her kindergarten teacher went south on me about paradigm shifts. She literally pulled me out to the playground and said, please stop teaching your kid about paradigm shifts, because she teaches 30 other kids. You know what it's like to have 35 and 6-year-olds ask you what a paradigm is. And, I would take her to networking meetings with me. Mm-hmm. I would take her to the office with me. I would take her to my speaking engagements. I made business cards for her that said Vice President of Public Relations. I love it. With my phone number, my email address, and I just really immersed her in it. My desire was to groom her to take over the business. There was a point where she had decided she had zero interest in being in front of tens of thousands of people speaking, and mm-hmm. And then one day she was sitting in training and saw what I did and said, Mom, I need to do this. And I love it. I made her start from the bottom up. I made her clean toilets. I made her do customer service. I made her do collections. I made her do admin, everything nobody wants to do.
Exactly.
And now she's running the business development department. She'll be 25 this year, and she owns a condo. In California, that's a feat. Yeah. And
I want to be like her when I grow up.
Me too. If I knew now what she knows at her age, life would be a lot different.
Right.
And it's already amazing. So
yeah, I'm so proud of her, and a shout out to Kiana, Joy, and the rest of the team and coaches at Pivot Point, because I really can honestly say it's been a pinnacle. It's changed my life, and I can't really explain it to people because they don't really understand, and that's another reason why I would love to have you here and explain to people, because it's one of those things that it's just, unless you experience it for yourself, you just really have no idea.
Yeah, The beautiful thing about being a business owner is we get to live and breathe our vision and our mission. And the mission of my company is to transform the world by impacting impact makers. Mm-hmm. And one of my favorite things to do is to watch people go through their transformation and evolution. Mm-hmm. And I'll lovingly say you haven't seen anything yet. And then my second favorite thing is to watch people attempt to explain it, mm-hmm. because it truly is the unexplainable.
Yeah, it is. Do you know when people are going to not show up again and just kind of leave the program, leave the training?
We do everything we can to stay in contact with people. Mm-hmm. So I'd have to say yes and no.
Okay.
No, because we see the best in everyone.
Yeah, good. I love that.
And yes, because sometimes the pattern's there and the writing's on the wall, and they say they want it because that's what they think they're
Right.
supposed to do, and yet they really don't want it.
Right. Yeah, and you have to want it, otherwise it's just not attainable. And the reason I asked that question is because I felt like we formed a family.
Yeah.
And it just was such a strong bond with everybody in there. And even if I didn't speak to everyone outside of the classroom, it was just like, oh, I hope they show up. I hope everyone's
They
in.
will.
Yeah.
They're in.
And they did. And they did. And that's why, it was funny. One of the other girls, I won't say names, but we were both like, I hope these people show up today. And I just love that. And I guess that comes back to also the building the rapport. And what do you think is the biggest piece in business, would you say, for people to become more successful in their businesses?
Stickability.
Okay.
I really think, I wholeheartedly believe success is 90% mindset and 10% skill set. Mm-hmm. Please, you need to be 100% at your 10%. Mm-hmm. You need to be the expert in your field. Mm-hmm. And I think what happens is so many people give up on themselves too fast. Right. And I think that right when you get to that edge of quitting, you're almost there. Mm-hmm. And so many people don't lean into that.
Yeah. I truly believe that. I felt like I was on the cliff and it was just like, and that's when the excuses start coming in. And then I realized, I'm hearing all the things my clients say to me. And I thought, well, I have come really far and I do know a lot and I am successful. Maybe it's just because I haven't been able to work because of my injuries, and maybe I will do really well. And it was just like, la, 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 la. And then I thought, oh, that's the old tape. That's the old tape. How do we stop that old tape from running and playing again and again?
Yeah.
That's I think that's one of the biggest questions I have, because listening to the audios, I've been changing up my audios and do more quantum physics, and I'm loving it. It's so interesting. And so every morning what I've been doing is I've been brushing my teeth with my left hand, and I'm also practicing what you've taught me as well. And I have found all the imperfections on my body, and I'm like, oh no. So one thing I did note, and I want to share this with everybody: if you don't like the way your body feels or looks at this moment, don't look at yourself in the mirror from behind. I realized that yesterday. I was like, that is not good.
Oh no.
So I went, Stacey, I definitely need to go back to this. I love what you had said, looking in front of the mirror. Can you share that technique? Just that little people?
Yeah. Do you want me to answer your first question or share the
please.
Okay. I'm tracking.
I get excited.
I'm tracking. So how do we get rid of that old tape? You're in the process of getting rid of it. So two things. One, it starts with awareness. You have to see it to learn from it to fix it. Okay. Two, the process that you're experiencing in the training is a 5 training process. You've been through 1 level.
Yeah.
And what we do is we deal with your neurology, linguistics, and programming. Then we deal with your emotions. Then we go back to your neurology, linguistic, programming. Then we deal with your emotions. Then we go back to dealing with both of them and put them together. Yes, I know.
Woo, that's like a fireworks show in my head right there.
So, and you also get to know that questioning ourselves is always going to exist. What it does to us, the triggering and the backsliding, is the old programming. Right. Now, when you question, second guess, imposter syndrome, instant gratification, when all that other bullshit stuff just starts bitch slapping you because the itty bitty shitty committee's going haywire, when that starts happening and you have a solid foundation under you, you can work through it instead of just throwing up your hands. And then the exercise.
Yes. Thank you for tracking my brain. That's like, woo. I'm like a kid on a tricycle. I'm like, la, 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 la. I have so many things to talk about.
Hey, I'm riding right by you. We got our two. I'd prefer to have a big wheel, though.
Yeah. I'm going back to the childhood because I never got to do those things. So I want the tricycle that's like blinged out, pink, and has those little tassels on the side. And my hair's got to be in pigtails.
Okay. I prefer to have the green machine because my brother had one and I wasn't allowed to. But that was kind of like a big wheel on steroids. So.
Right.
So
we could do this. Okay.
I know, right? So the exercise, I had a coach a really long time ago share with me, we have a hard time loving ourselves. And we show up to love other people. And it's really hard for other people to love us or us to really love other people if we can't love the foundation. Mm-hmm. So this coach assigned an exercise to me that took me years to do.
Okay, good. I'm not that far behind. Okay.
And it was set a timer for 30 seconds, stand in front of a mirror, and stare myself in the eyes and hold a loving space and tell that person out loud or in my head the reflection that I was seeing, which was me, how much I loved them. Look for everything positive. The second you have a negative thought, like where did that zit come from, or where did that gray hair come from, or oh my gosh, look at that wrinkle, or you have to reset the clock. Literally, my first week, I was there for hours in front of the mirror each day, like to the point where I was like, I have to do this at night because my day's not starting.
You're like, I need to go to work. And I get to go to work. You're like, this is a full-time job.
Right. So then finally I got through the 30 seconds and then the exercise got raised to a minute. And then the goal was to get to 3 minutes.
Okay.
That took a really long time, but that was only the beginning of the exercise.
Oh, jeez.
Then it was move my hand to the heart in the reflection and hold space that way until the reflection tell myself how much I loved myself and everything good about myself, and started with 30 seconds, had to get to 3 minutes. And I have to tell you, I experienced TMF for like a month. Total muscle failure was just, my arm was like this the whole time. And then finally I got to 3 minutes, and then the coach made me undress and do it. And that took a really long time.
Yeah.
And
are you still able to do that to this day?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's,
I love how you popped up when you said that.
yeah, I can honestly say that I love myself. Yeah. I mean, how can I not? Look at me.
You are looking fire in that pink shirt, I gotta say.
You know what, for me, look, I'm visual. For me, I have to tolerate me, because if I can't tolerate me, Lord knows nobody else is going to be able to, and I get to be a handful sometimes.
I'm with you on that one, as everybody all knows. A little bit of work, but I bring a lot of love with it.
Yeah,
so.
I'm a work in progress, aren't we all?
Exactly. I need to hang that sign over me, front and back.
Construction.
May take a while loading, and may take a while. Be patient on the back.
Right?
I love that, and I have attempted to do that exercise. Mm-hmm. I'm being very mindful of my words because I'm working on not saying the word try.
Yeah.
And it's difficult. It's emotionally painful for me still, because I'm new at it, and I'm learning how to love myself again after, a few experiences in life, a few roadblocks, and the bumps along the way are creating this beautiful person. And I was able to say, you know what? You are a beautiful, loving person. And I was able to look in the mirror, and I felt good about that this morning. And then I was like, oh my gosh, where did that come from? And that I remember you saying that. I was like, delete, go back and restart. So that's something I'm going to really work on, because I really, really, really want to be able to love myself again.
Traci, you're beautiful inside and out.
Thank you.
those unfortunate relationships were mirrors for you.
Right.
To really look at things in your life, in yourself, in your past that haunted you, that no longer serve you. And your unconscious mind is ready to seek out these lessons for resolution purposes. And so that you really get to see that beautiful soul inside of you. You know, it's funny, on my way here, I called a friend of mine and she's like, where are you going? You like never drive. And because I don't, I either fly or get driven because I'm usually just on my way to a speaking engagement. And I was like, oh, I'm going to do a podcast. And she goes, oh, who are you doing a podcast with? And I said, oh, Traci Lynn. And she goes, well, who's she? And I said, am I allowed to curse?
Yes.
I said, she's a bad fucking ass. and she goes, oh, that's awesome. I look forward to getting to meet her. And I said, well, you're eventually going to meet her because you'll meet her at trainers.
Okay, cool. That's amazing. Thank you. Yeah, coming here today meant a lot to me, and I appreciate your words. And I wanted to share, because I did text it to you and tell you, and I wanted to share with the viewers and audience, because this is my year, the rest of my life to be free.
Yeah.
And for me to have this freedom that I've worked so hard for and I will continue to work hard for, I had that realization and that epiphany that I realized, you know, it wasn't just the men in my life that were the problems. I realized it had a lot to do with my mom. And I thought, oh my gosh, this isn't possible. And then I sat down on my bed and I went, okay, think about this. And really, what are you seeing? Because I was seeing all these similarities in women that I was attracting. And I went, okay, my mom was doing this and my mom was doing that. And she still stayed with these men and she chose them over me. And these are the thoughts that were coming up for me. And I never, you know, I was always like so forgiving, and I still am. Obviously, she's up in heaven, and I love her and miss her very much. And I thought, wow, well, she stayed with them. So she just basically set this example for me, and I thought this was what was right. I thought this was what was supposed to be and then I thought I was a problem as a little girl, because every time they would fight, they would tell me I was the problem. And I realized that I wasn't the problem. You know, I was just a little girl and a kid trying to navigate this world. And I thought, oh, I just repeated the cycle.
Yeah.
I repeated this cycle over and over and over. And I've been just looking for that adoration and that love and that to fit in, and, you know, for my dad to notice me, and my mom's not here anymore and my family's not in my life really. And I thought, wow, this is big. And it's so cool because it's like, oh, I get to reframe my mind and my thoughts now. And it's such a beautiful thing because I don't feel so tense about it anymore. And I don't feel sad about it because it's out in the open and I'm realizing it. So I guess this is a breakthrough.
Yeah. You know, this isn't about blaming mommy and daddy. This is about shifting perspective because several things. One, they did the best they could with the tools they had.
Yes.
They repeated programmings. And a lot of their purpose and intention was based off love, because every behavior has a purpose, has an intention. And I mean, look, there are some malicious people out there, and their behavior that they're still deploying has a purpose and intention. And that purpose and intention is to protect them, serve them, or fill in the blank, whatever.
Right.
You know, it's when we can step back and realize that we are a culmination of every one of our experiences, and then give ourselves the gift to shift the perspective on it, that it didn't happen to us, and it doesn't always happen for us. It just so happened to create us.
Yeah.
And then it's identifying and deciding what it is we're going to do with that creation.
Yeah, I like that. And what I love too is you said, you know, with childhood and things like that, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to be like them.
I never say that.
No, I said that. So we were saying this. Let me clarify. So in the class, kept saying, and I said it too my whole life. I'm never going to be like my parents. I'm never going to do this. I'm never going to be like that. I'm never going to do this. So can you share with what you explained to us that is totally opposite of that?
Yeah, the unconscious mind is incapable of processing a negative. So what that means is anytime we say, I'm not going to be like my mother, what happens? We're saying, I'm going to be like mom, right? When you pull like a hot thing of cookies or muffins out of an oven and you tell a kid, don't touch this, before you get the sentence out, they've touched it and they get burnt.
Yeah.
The way the brain works is we say it the way we mean it. And what that means is instead of saying what it is you're not going to do, say how it is you want to do it.
Okay.
And this way the brain has a clear understanding of how to follow through with that.
Okay.
So when people say, I don't want to be like my parents, it's like, yep, you're repeating who they are because that's what you're telling the brain to do.
Yeah. And that's very interesting because I thought all these things, I'm not going to do that in relationships. And I was like, oh, no, you did that. So is there a better way to rephrase it for people instead of that?
Yeah, we have the opportunity to model or reverse model significant relationships in our life. And, there were good things about my dad and there were unfortunate things about my father, and I was very clear when I had made the decision to have a child. Science has proven time and time again that abused children abuse children. And I was petrified to have a kid because of the abuse that I had lived through. Right. And I was very clear that I wanted to look at my relationship with my kid and determine how I wanted it to be. And it wasn't, I'm not going to spank her. I'm not going to hit her. What it was instead was, I'm going to create an environment where she can choose her outcome. And I gave her choices. And, I started this when she was 3 years old, about the time that she could start, I won't even say deductive reasoning, right? But I would turn around and say, what do you want for dinner? Do you want chicken and green beans or chicken and peas, right? And she would think, and I would let her pick, or I would turn around, that's probably not a good, chicken and green beans or steak and peas, right? Because there was something that she disliked and something that she liked on each plate. So she got to pick what it is she wanted. Okay. And then she had to eat it all. Or, eat what, because I wasn't, you have to clean your plate. Yeah. And I gave her choices like this. Do you want to wear this outfit or this outfit? Right. This allowed her to know that every decision we make in life has positive consequences or negative consequences. And because we chose it, we're responsible for living with the consequences. And that was the way I raised her. And there were times where she picked things that had negative consequences. So how do we say things instead? The rule of thumb is say it the way you want it.
Okay.
So if you don't want to be like your mother, what do you want to be instead? And that's the way you deliver your verbiage.
Right. Okay. Yeah. I'm going to write that out and definitely work on that. And so, because I like that in talking about relationships too. So reframing, because I know a lot of people that have been through, obviously I work with a lot of trauma clients and things like that, and survivors and thrivers. And so they're always like, I'm never going to pick a guy like my ex. I'm never going to pick. And I was like, Throw
on the brakes.
I'm like, no, let's go ahead and let's just work on that. So I think that's a beautiful thing for people that, have been through that, where they're saying that verbiage. Now we can step back and reframe it and change it And I'm loving writing out things because I'm able to explore it differently and look at it differently. Where before I was just, writing down or saying, I am affirmations. What are your thoughts on affirmations? I knew I was going to get that look. It's
jamming whatever it is that you're affirming into a brain. It's kind of like putting a square peg in a round hole.
Right. So saying I am wealthy when somebody's not.
If there is any ounce of incongruency
right.
in the affirmation, then it's 100% incongruent. And what happens is, because the way our brain works is our unconscious mind runs 90% of our life, our conscious mind runs 10% of our life. If there's an ounce of incongruency, we're 100% incongruent. I love it when people go, well, I'm 99%. I'm 99% congruent with it. And I'm like, that's kind of like being 99% pregnant. You either are or you aren't. Yeah. So what happens is, if somebody is slamming affirmations down and there's an ounce of incongruency in it, the unconscious mind sits there and goes, bullshit. And they're literally jamming thoughts in. And, it's good to have positive thoughts. It's good to have a positive mindset. It's necessary to have positivity. However, when there's incongruency in there, the unconscious mind rejects it. And when it rejects it, it won't move forward with it.
Okay, I love that. And I believe I know the answer to this question, but I'm going to ask for the viewers and listeners. How do you know when somebody's incongruent with something?
There's a lot of ways. So let's start with communication.
Okay.
Communication is 55% physiology, 38% tonality, 7% words. So if somebody turns around and goes, Traci, I'm so excited about working out with you this morning. That shake.
I get that a lot.
I can't imagine why.
Jeez, I'm like, I'm really not beating them in there. I'm like, you guys wanted this.
For you as listeners, have you ever turned around and said, yeah, I'm so excited, right? When you're shaking your head, no, that's your unconscious response. When someone turns around, slumps their shoulders over, hunches over and goes, I'm so motivated, in their best Eeyore.
You're like, I really want to team up with you.
I know, right? That's incongruency. So it's when their physiology and tonality mismatch their words.
Right. That actually happened to me last week, and I was making a big decision about something, and my head kept doing this, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm incongruent. And I knew it, and I kind of went, I'm going to get back to you on this. And it was so incredible. I mean, my neck literally would not stop turning. It was very strong and very powerful. And in my head, I thought, is this my gut? Is this my instinct? I'm not sure. And then my head started to go and sideways, and I went, oh, I like this.
Wow.
This isn't, I felt it. It was a gravitational pull almost. It was very distinct. And so, yeah, definitely, I love the incongruency. Okay, so what about eye patterns, things like that? Are we allowed to talk about that?
Yeah, we can talk about anything you want.
I love the whole eye pattern thing. I'm not really sure exactly what I want to know. How do you know when, let's say, how do we know when somebody's lying?
So I will respectfully and lovingly say, we don't really know when someone's lying. We just know when someone accesses a quadrant when they construct a response. And, the calibration of whether or not they're lying or not comes from sensory acuity. Really stepping back and watching all of their features, from their facial English
muscles.
is, I know,
muscles.
right? ESL. facial muscles, and those are two words that are really hard to put together. Facial muscles, skin response, the color, the tone of their voice, the timbre of their voice, their eye patterns. When you start putting all of that together and then you start seeing certain patterns, just because somebody accesses the construct quadrant doesn't necessarily mean that they're lying. What it means is they're attempting to construct their response, and they could be doing that for a multitude of reasons. It's the sensory awareness and acuity of everything else that then starts telling us as we're calibrating.
Okay.
I think the more you get to know somebody and the more you have rapport with them and the more dialed in you are to their sensory acuity, then you can start really determining where the fabrication is, where the embellishment is, where the avoidance is. First and foremost, because this is a science, we have to calibrate. We have to understand if people are organized one way or the other, normally or reversed. And through that calibration, then we have to start looking at, do they have synesthesia or TDS or anything like that, to where they access one representational system by accessing another one first, or do they have to search a multitude of representational systems to be able to get the full answer? It's a complicated question with very simple understanding of the science. It's quick. It's just, you have to understand the science.
Yeah, no, it's been interesting because I've been thinking about it too, even with myself, just being mindful, because I'm just learning and I'm fascinated by all of this and the eye movements and eye patterns. So I thought, I'm going up to construct, but it's actually a memory. And I'm thinking, why am I up there in construct? And so I went, well, I had to go back into the visual, then I was like getting into here, then I got back to that. And so I was just thinking about a lot of things, and I thought it was interesting.
Do you want to know why you really go into construct?
Yeah, I do, please.
So you are a very visual person. So what happens is you access the recall quadrant.
Okay.
And because of some of the trauma in your past and the lack of dealings with emotions, you have blind spots. Right. So when you have blind spots, you then go up to construct to attempt to fill in the blind spots so that you can go back to recall and make sense of it. That's why you do it.
That makes sense, because we did that in class, and I was, I don't know what happened, but it was just, I was trying because my eyes were...
That's TDS.
And there was a lot of stuff going on, but I think that'll be for another episode, and that'll be for another episode. And the other thing, I was just curious. So if you personally, Stacey, if you're struggling with something or you're going through something yourself, with all the schooling and the training and everything that how do you pull yourself out of a day like that?
So that is a layered response.
Okay.
And first, my first answer to that is when you're part of the problem, you'll never be part of the solution. Ooh. So when I'm part of my problem, I'm incapable of solving it. So when I'm having situations like you just asked, I lean into my coaches. I have a coach for every area of my life, and I lean into it heavy.
I love that.
And then the second part of that answer is, doesn't matter how bad things get. There's a song. This is a line in a song. It's important to remember that your baddest hour is only 60 minutes long. So it doesn't, a bad moment, a bad minute is 60 seconds long. Right. A bad hour is 60 minutes long. And so many people turn around and capture an internal representation and then project, it's a bad day. Well, the second you think that, you're going to make it that.
Right.
A bad moment is a bad moment. A bad minute is a bad minute. A bad hour is a bad hour. It doesn't make it a bad day.
Yeah.
And if I do end up spiraling, then I lean into all the mirrors I've put up in my life. I call them coaches.
Well, I think that's fantastic. And that was actually one of my questions. I was going to ask you, what do you think coaches need coaches? Obviously, you're very fond of this.
I wholeheartedly believe that if you're a coach without a coach, you're really not a coach. You are somebody that has built a way to support yourself, because coaches want to be the best versions of themselves, and they know what they do best, and then they are constantly seeking their greatness, because what you feed grows and what you starve dies. And look, we all start somewhere, and I get being broke. I mean, I filed bankruptcy. I built a 7-figure business and had a business partner embezzle everything from me. The one thing that I'm very aware of is you can make an excuse, you can look for an excuse, you can find an excuse, or you can find a way. And no matter how bad things get, you have choices. And I didn't start out hiring all these coaches. I didn't start out looking at the universal life wheel going, I'm going to hire a coach in every area of my life. I started out with what I needed the most. Hired a coach. Then as that started growing, I hired another coach. Then as that started growing, I hired another coach, and I just kept going.
Good.
And you know that I just recently have been on this journey of health, because that's the area of my life that I abandoned, and through rebuilding my wealth and releasing 100 pounds and reclaiming my health has been really important to me. And side note, when this gets better, I do want to talk with you.
Yeah, thank you.
I admire and respect who you are and what you are and how you are, and I want to wait till this gets better, though.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. And I am so happy for you and so proud of you for the weight loss, weight release. And I love that word. It's way better than the other one.
Our unconscious mind doesn't let us lose anything. Have you ever noticed when you lose weight, you go back and find it and all its friends? It's because your unconscious mind doesn't let you lose it.
My friend's like, I lost weight. I'm like, I found it. I was like, I got your weight and you didn't lose it. That is amazing. I love being in the industry of health and wellness, and the thing that's so important to me, and I believe without the foundation of health and wellness and fitness, having that, we struggle in all our areas of our lives. And I know as a coach too, and just being in this industry for decades, that when I look at somebody, I can tell how successful they are in all of their business, all of their lives, everything. And so I know that right away.
Yeah.
And it's not a judgment. It's just something I know, because it's just, if you're not feeling good and you're not at your best, that's what you're giving back. And I know that 100%.
Yeah.
And so whether you're in pain, whether you're suffering from addictions, whether you have mental health issues, whether you have weight to release, it's all these things. And so I do realize that, and that's why it's important for me to get back to where, I want to be and I will be with my own body too.
Yeah.
Because then I'm able to give all that back again.
Yeah.
And so I'm almost there, and the neck is healing, and I'm speaking positivity, and I'm speaking healing words instead of the opposite.
Good. Just keep it congruent.
Yes.
Keep it congruent.
Yes, I am congruent.
Yeah, none of this mantra shit to where the unconscious mind will reject it. Can I say 3 things on that?
Please.
So first and foremost, based off of what you said, when you can look at somebody and know where they're at, love it or hate it.
Yeah.
Remember The Biggest Loser, right? I totally disagreed with the foundation of their program, and I respected the awareness that they brought to nutrition and the importance of physical exercise and muscle development. Didn't appreciate how they did it. I say that to say one day they had Susie Orman on. And it was early on in one of their seasons. And Bob and Jillian asked, predict the winner. And she goes, oh, it's easy. It's going to be Dan. And they said, how do you know? And she goes, I ran every one of their credit reports. And although every one of their credit reports are bad, because how you do... She didn't say it, but how you do some things, how you do everything, right? Every one of their credit scores were bad. He had the highest of the bad. And Dan won that season.
Interesting. Yeah. I believe it.
And then
I believe it.
The two other things I wanted to say, Mary Lou, my wife, being a holistic health practitioner and an energy worker and a heebie-jeebie mumbo-jumbo all over the place up there kind of thing. Two things she used to say, and this is a big mantra in the health and wellness industry, is health is wealth, right?
Yes, 100%.
But her tagline for years before she exercised her freedom and closed down her wellness center, her tagline was, if you ain't well, you can't sell. And
I love that.
Yeah.
It's so true. And again, it's not judgment. It's just, I can tell where somebody's at as soon as I look at them. And I know you probably had that same thought maybe when I walked into your office the first time too.
I really connected with you when you
know.
walked into the office.
Yeah. And we'll give everyone just a glimpse of how that, we won't give them all the details, but I had such a strong connection, and I was at a real low. I was at a bottom. I mean, I was cold calling in offices, and I was on foot. I was in pain, and I was in rough shape, mentally, emotionally, physically, financially. And I thought, I'm going to do whatever I have to do. I'm just going to do whatever it takes, because that's where I need to be.
Yeah.
And so I went in there and I did some cold calling sales, and lo and behold, it's to Stacey O'Byrne. I found out after I looked at the walls, and it's all these beautiful quotes and things like that. And I went, what do you do for a living? And she just had this little smile on her face. Oh, well, I do coaching and, and very calm. And I went, okay, God put me in here for a reason. And even though, I was in tears before I left my car to get out. Actually, no, I had to take an Uber and get a ride with the guy that I was doing sales, because I wasn't able to drive because of the neurological issues. And I would be crying, going, I don't want to do this. I'm like, please, God, just anything, like, just please help me right now. And I was like, angels align with me. Like, I don't want to do this. And I just want to get better, and I want to be in a better space, and I want to coach again. I want to help people, and I want to personal train again, and I want my body back. And I walked into your office, and it changed my life. And fast forward, this is a year later, and it's been about a year, I guess.
Yeah, it's almost been a year. Because it was right around summer. I think we had just gotten back from Maui.
Yeah. And and then you're at it again.
Yeah, we're leaving soon.
I love it. Okay, so I have had so much fun. I mean, I would love to keep you here for so much longer. Maybe we'll do this again.
I'd be honored.
Thank you.
It's been amazing.
Yeah, Stacey O'Byrne with Pivot Point Advantage. Where can we find you on social media, and how can people get in touch with you for your next courses?
Yeah, so our website is pivotpointadvantage.com. Okay. You can follow us on Instagram at Pivot Point Advantage. Facebook is at Pivot Point Advantage, or you can look me up as Stacey O'Byrne.
Okay. Any special words for everybody just before you leave? Anything, little drops of words of wisdom?
Yeah, I'll share with you. Love yourself. It all starts with you. You got to do the inner work for the outer to ever work. And The rule of thumb with our brain is if you can see it, then it exists within you to create it. You're the only obstacle that's preventing it. So let's get out of your way so that you can get on your way to finally have your way.
Oh, I love it. I can't wait to give you a hug. You guys, this has been an amazing show. I am so grateful that you were here today. Thank you for your time.
Thanks for having me.
Your presence. Yeah, and we're here every week, you guys, Life Unleashed with TLC. So follow us on YouTube, all social media, big platforms, Rumble. We've got it on iHeart, Spotify. So yeah, make sure you're watching and liking, subscribing, sharing these episodes so that we can share our knowledge, our strength, and our wisdom with the rest of you. So thanks for being here today, and we'll see you next time. Bye for now.
She's a warrior, a survivor, and it's all because of God. She's a teacher and a healer, and it's all because of God. She's sassy, full of fire, with a heart that's made of gold. She will help you build your body, and it's so good for your soul.